Good evening, everyone, and welcome to your Thursday edition of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Michael Annan.
And I'm student meteorologist AJ Willie. Plenty to talk about here on your Thursday evening show, but let's talk about what we've been talking about all week, and that's Hurricane Florence, starting to make its way into the Carolinas right now.
Yep.
Expecting it to pretty much stall out over the Carolinas for the next 2 to 3 days at least.
Yeah, AJ, it's starting to make that left turn, going right along the coastline, basically what we've been expecting the last day or so. And even though it's a Category 2 hurricane, weaker than it was early in the week, that doesn't mean it's a different storm. The storm is much bigger than it was early in the week.
Oh, big time. And the storm actually stretches over 330 miles, which is much bigger than Irma that we saw last year in our region. Yep. So this is a very big storm, expecting widespread rain throughout much of the Carolinas, even into the Appalachian Mountains area, all the way up through the Northeast. So this is really not a storm that you want to mess with, and it means business.
Yeah, that's the reason why we have tropical storm warnings all the way up to Virginia Beach, even though the center's going towards Wilmington. So
yeah,
because of that big size.
As you said, the center is going towards Wilmington, and horrible news for them, but they've actually already received their rainiest season to date. So if they don't get any rain the rest of the year, they would still have their rainiest year, and now they're getting this other hurricane. So that's something that we'll definitely have to keep an eye on down there.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about Florence throughout the whole show, but for now, let's send it off to Salone at the wall with our overview for tonight.
Thank you, AJ and Michael. You can see that it was a hot one today. It's currently 90 degrees outside in Tallahassee. Mostly cloudy, no showers currently, but we do have winds heavier than yesterday at 8 miles per hour from the north. Currently, again, you see we do have some showers moving through I-10 throughout Tallahassee, but Panama City is where we're seeing most of the rain right now. So if you are in that region, make sure you have your umbrella with you. Current conditions, again, we have some overcast conditions in the middle of our region from Perry to Quincy, but sunshine everywhere else. You can see that Apalachicola is a bit cooler right now because they have that rain going through their area. Your headlines for the week, you're going to see that Florence threatens the East Coast, especially the Carolina coastline currently. Your local sea breeze pattern returns, and weekend temperatures are back in the mid-90s. I'm going to pass it off to Dylan right now to talk about the tropics.
Thank you very much, Sloan. We're going to take a look at Hurricane Florence to start things off. Category 2 right now has been downgraded from a Category 3, and this is showing those heights of those clouds, and you can see these very tall clouds with some very convective storms, which is those thunderstorms that you see. Do you see the counterclockwise rotation, but don't really see a good look at the eye right now. We'll take a little deeper look. It's only moving at 5 miles per hour, is something to note, and with the slow-moving storm, it's really going to sit in place and dump a lot of water on top of the storm surge that it's causing. As we zoom into the radar, it's finally come full circle into our picture on the satellite and radar. And you can see where that eye is, and it kind of goes through an eye wall replacement right now, which means the eye is dying and it's trying to get stronger, but luckily this is actually a good thing because as it's trying to replace itself, it becomes a bit weaker storm. So it's not going to be that Category 3 that they forecasted earlier this week, being lower, but it's still a very deadly storm. A lot of rain, a lot of storm surge. That is the big impact with this storm, and it's going to sit there and move not that much in the next couple of days. So it's something to look out, and we're going to keep track on it. As we zoom in a bit, you do see these stronger storms start to come up just about now. See these darker reds with this lightning bolts in it. Those are those strong convective storms, and those have the potential to have tornadoes embedded in them. There's a lot of rain and a lot of big storm. Its impact is really big too. We talked about the wind field on the desk. We'll look at the rain. It's stretching all the way up into Virginia just now, and that's going to continue. And most of the rain is sticking north of the storm rather than south, even though it'll move southward. As we go look at the models, we do see it start to make this southward shift and then westward and then westward, and then finally go back up into the northeast. The storm is going to start to stall. You see not a lot of movement in the early part of the forecast, but we do see a lot of confidence in making that southern turn and then finally going westward and then dissipating out into the northeast. Looking at the weather alerts with it, we have different ones. Farther up in Virginia and Maryland, you have coastal watches and coastal flood warnings as well. Down in the Carolinas, though, you have these dark greens as the coastal or the flood watch, and the dark red in the flood warning. We've been expecting a lot of rain and a lot of flooding with this, and that's going to continue for the next couple of days. In the 5-day rainfall, you talked about all that rain on the northern part. You're seeing 20+ inches in the next 5 days in parts of North Carolina, into Virginia as well, 15+ inches. And and this is localized rain, which will cause localized flooding with this storm, and the storm surge really just adding to its impact. With those tropical advisories, we do see it stretching all the way up, the tropical storm watch or warning up into Virginia, hurricane warning down all the way into South Carolina now, and it's going to be strong winds, and as the storm dissipates, it's really going to still have a big wind field as well, so something to look out for as well. Something we want to just tease a little bit, Tropical Storm Isaac has been downgraded into a tropical storm, and it's going to start to dissipate as we look in the next couple days. We'll have more on the desk for what you can expect. And going through our list of storms, we go down, Florence is still on there in the first half, but then we're into Helene, Isaac, Joyce, and the next storm coming up would be Kirk if we have any more landfall, but we didn't see much in the tropics. Now let's go over to AJ with a local look.
Yeah, let's take things a little bit more locally here. Currently here in Tallahassee, we got up to 93 degrees today, which is above our average of 89 for this time of year. And you can see here that our low temperature of 74 degrees this morning is also above our average of 69 for this time of year. So definitely above average throughout much of the capital city region. Currently here in Tallahassee sitting at 90 degrees, Perry sitting at 92 degrees, as is Thomasville. Valdosta sitting at 89 degrees. Bainbridge is our hot spot on the map here, sitting at 93 degrees currently. Those dew points are still very on the muggy side, even into the oppressive category for dew points, easily into the low to mid 70s. Perry sitting at 72 degrees, Tallahassee at 73 degrees, Quincy at 75 degrees. And look at Apalachicola down here on the coast, 78 degree dew point. Automatically starts sweating as soon as you walk outside. That's because they're getting all of that moisture off from the Gulf. When you combine that dew point along with the actual temperature outside into an impressive formula, you will get the heat index value. You can see our heat index value here of 98 degrees, and I do remind you it is after 6 p.m. so it is still very hot outside in Tallahassee right now. Perry seeing a 99 degree heat index, Thomasville 96 degree heat index, Bainbridge sitting with a 97 degree heat index. So it's definitely hot around the capital city right now. Satellite radar here shows Florence as it's moving into the Carolinas, as Dylan referred to earlier. Also have a line of showers that's progressing up through Mississippi and Alabama. And then we've also got the remnants of Invest 95L making its way into the Houston area of Texas, bringing them a lot of rainfall as well. Here locally in Tallahassee, a few scattered showers and storms have started to pop up, but not expecting those showers to be on the heavier side for the remainder of the evening as we get into your Friday morning as well. You can see that here on your Futurecast as we get throughout the evening hours on Thursday. Things start to clear up a little bit, progressing on to Friday morning. Temperatures will be once again in the mid 70s waking up for your Friday, but mostly clear skies expected continuing throughout the day on Saturday. Just a few scattered showers and storms are possible for your Friday afternoon into your Friday evening hours. The main concern I have with your Friday is going to be the extreme heat that we're going to be seeing. For tonight, looking at 75 degrees with those isolated showers and storms tapering off throughout the remainder of the evening. And as we get into tomorrow, looking at 94 degrees for the capital city with those partly cloudy skies. A scattered shower or storm is possible, very localized though, for your Friday afternoon. Your 7-day forecast here has 95 degrees for your Friday and your Saturday, with those slight rain chances expected Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The heat does remain throughout the weekend with 93 degrees expected for your Sunday before we slide back down into the low to mid 90s for the next work week. But for now, I'm going to send things over to the desk with Michael and Sloan to talk about some more Florence.
Yeah, thanks, AJ. And all this week, we've really appreciated all of your viewer questions. If you are watching us from the Carolinas about Florence, now we didn't get any more questions today, so we're just going to recap some of them and give you some updates based on the latest information we got today.
Yeah, we're going to start off with a question about Chesapeake Bay because, you know, they will be experiencing some flooding and whatnot in that area as well and storm surge.
Yeah, Travis Page, he was wondering about the tides in Chesapeake Bay, and if you saw in Dylan's segment earlier, we had coastal flood watches and warnings. That is because Florence is so large, its wind field expanded so much that we might get some water rises all the way up towards the Chesapeake Bay and maybe into the Potomac, so you can't rule that out given how large Florence is.
And then again from Hunter Hill up in Hubert, North Carolina, you will see that we will have storm surge in that area up to 13 feet. And then Georgetown and Conway will also have storm surge up to about 5 to 8 feet, and they will also experience those gusty winds and heavy rain showers as well.
Yeah, so keep sending in your questions for the rest of the week and maybe even into next week, as Florence will still be lingering. We really appreciate all of them. And for now, let's go out back to the wall with Dylan.
Thank you very much, folks. We're looking at the national picture, and we're seeing a lot where the heat is, but where the coolness is up in the northwest. So you're seeing a lot of cool temperatures, 69 in Seattle on the coast, and San Francisco, 67. Those are feeling nicer than it is feeling on the East Coast and most of the United States. It's still feeling like summer. We're still in summer, folks. Summer doesn't start, or fall doesn't begin until September 22nd. Look at all these dark oranges and reds throughout the eastern part of the country. This is going to be the pattern for the next couple of days, unfortunately. As we look at our dew points, though, we do see a lot of moisture situated throughout the entire eastern part, where you got these high heats, you got these high moistures. And those heat index values have been very high throughout much of the country, but it's been drier out on the west coast. Not seeing very high dew points in these darker brown colors, indicating those lower dew points and lower moisture content. Looking at our wind speed, though, you can see where tropical or Hurricane Florence is right now. You see the counterclockwise rotation there. We also saw that invest down by Texas. We're going to zoom into that, but you can see the counterclockwise rotation down there as well. You can kind of see where this frontal boundary is located, where it's kind of stalled out and not really had an impact, and it's going to sit there, and you'll see some of those storms come up right here. You see this nice defined kind of ish line of storms. That's really due to that stalled out boundary. But then down we see in Houston, we see a lot of this rain with that invest that we've been looking at, bringing in a lot of rain onto the coast, and they do have some flooding concerns with this, some flash flood watches in the greens and some river flooding as well in the lighter greens. And on the coast, you don't really want to be out on the boat. High winds and high surf really making it a small craft advisory kind of a day. Zooming up into the northwest, though, Spokane, we'll talk about that on the Friday show. Seeing some rain with that in the next kind of frontal system that will push off Hurricane Florence as well. So this is going to start to make its way eastward, push that storm off into the northeast. So we need this to get moving just a little bit. Zooming in on our water vapor, you saw that defined line. Well, you see where the dry air is, and it's very hot there. And where all this moisture is, with all that tropical moisture, look at these colors. It's very, very moist outside, and a lot of storms and a lot of cloud cover situated in this part, but not a lot of storms on the western part. Looking in our tonight's forecast, we see clearer skies on the west coast where they don't have a lot of that water vapor, dry air aloft, so you're going to see some clear skies and some cooler temperatures. Out in Seattle, of course, they're seeing rain. It's Seattle. What do you expect? Down in the southeast, though, we have a lot of rain as well. Mostly here, you have some isolated storms, those popcorn showers, but you also have the effects of Florence as well, helping out with that. Down in Miami, they are seeing some rain as well, and then the northeast staying relatively clear. As we look at tomorrow's forecast, though, you're going to see those temperatures come back, and it still be hot on the eastern part of the country, and on the western part of the country, cooler and clearer skies with a lot less moisture and a lot less rain. Now we're going to send it over to the desk, or actually AJ, with a look of your southeast.
Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on in the southeast here. Looking at temperatures really on the muggy side, those heat index values that I was talking about earlier in Tallahassee have translated into much of the southeast as well. 88 degrees in New Orleans, 89 in Shreveport, 87 degrees in Jackson, 90 here in Tallahassee, 91 degrees in Jacksonville. Those dew points here that do reflect how muggy it is and what the humidity in the air is are on the very warm end. 76-degree dew point in New Orleans, 71 in Shreveport, 70 in Jackson and Little Rock, 74 degrees in Montgomery, and 73 here in Tallahassee. So those dew points are easily into the oppressive category for dew points. Very uncomfortable when you walk outside. Plenty of moisture in the air throughout much of the southeast. Your winds here have pretty light and variable winds throughout the entire state of Florida, getting into Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana as well. 5 miles per hour in New Orleans, 2 miles per hour in Jackson. You can see all of this flow coming off of the Gulf, and that is due to Invest 95L, bringing some storms into the coastal Texas area. But then off to our north and our east, we're looking at Hurricane Florence, as it's starting to make its way into the Carolinas. You can see the winds here, only 13 miles per hour in Charleston right now. Wind is not the serious concern with Florence, more along the lines of rain. You can see that here on your satellite and radar, because we're looking at the storm moving into the southern part of North Carolina, as we're expecting that track to continue down into South Carolina. But as we get into your RPM here, you can see that it's pretty much just stalls out over North Carolina, along for much of the rest of the southeast. Mostly scattered showers expected throughout your Thursday evening into your Friday morning. As we get into tonight's forecast, looking at 77 degrees for New Orleans. Plenty of scattered showers and storms are expected throughout much of the southeast, with 73 degrees expected in Montgomery, 75 degrees here in Tallahassee and Orlando, 74 degrees in Jacksonville, and 76 degrees in Charleston. For tomorrow's forecast, looking at 90 degrees in New Orleans, 92 in Jackson and Tupelo, with those scattered showers and storms making their way into the afternoon hours. Much warmer down here in Tallahassee at 94 degrees. Montgomery looking at 95 degrees. Jacksonville 96 degrees. And plenty of rain is expected for those of you in Charleston looking at 87 degrees. But now I'm actually going to head on over and send things off to Michael with a look at our second local forecast.
Yeah, thanks, AJ. Let's take a look at our rainfall almanac for today. And as we take a look at it, we didn't get any rainfall today, and we're not expecting any rainfall for the weekend, but that comes with a catch. But you can see how we're pretty much average for this time of year, not as wet as we were in August, so that's a good thing. But because of our wet August, we're well above for the year, at about 6 inches above for the year. Now, current conditions here in Tallahassee, we do have 90 degrees in Tallahassee, 82 in Quincy, rain cooled 82. They did get a shower earlier today, and our hotspot right now is Bainbridge at 93 degrees. Dew points, we're not really getting an air mass change, and we're not really expecting an air mass change for the next few weeks until we get one of these stronger cold fronts to move down towards the southeast. As a result, our dew points are pretty high, but pretty typical for this time of year. 77 in Quincy, 73 in Tallahassee, and 72 in Perry. Now the winds, they're not very breezy, and they're very variable. You can see varying directions in and around the Tallahassee region, ranging to around 5 to 6 miles per hour. Again, they might be increasing just a little bit with Florence, but we're not expecting really any impacts from Florence, but one indirect impact. We'll get into that in just a second. You can see the main focus is Florence spinning off the North Carolina coastline right near the Outer Banks. Do have some scattered showers and thunderstorms in the southeast. That's due to the remnants of a stalled out boundary that's been placed over the southeast all this week. Here in Tallahassee, not much shower activity, and you notice how the movement is from the northeast to the southwest. That is because of the overall flow around Florence. Now, as we head into the overnight hours, those showers do dissipate due to the loss of the daytime heating. You're expecting mostly clear skies here in Tallahassee. And then as we go into tomorrow morning, mostly sunny skies to start out your Friday morning. And then as we go into the afternoon, maybe an isolated shower here or there you can see by our Futurecast model. But we are not expecting much shower activity because of this northerly wind due to Florence. That is really going to suppress the thunderstorm activity as we head into tomorrow and into the weekend. So tonight, thunderstorms possible early. They will dissipate by sunset, 75 degrees as your low. And then as we go into tomorrow, because of that northerly flow suppressing our thunderstorm activity, we are really going to heat things up. 96 in Bainbridge, 94 in Tallahassee, as well as in Quincy. Going into your 7-day forecast, that's going to be the trend as we go into the weekend. 20% chance of rain due to that northerly flow. But then as Florence moves away by the time we head into the work week, we do bring those sea breeze showers and thunderstorms back up to 40%. Now let's send it back to the desk with Dylan and Salone.
Thanks, Michael. Dylan and I are going to talk about Isaac, since that's a storm that we haven't really covered much during the show.
Right.
Currently, it is a tropical storm moving west along the Caribbean Sea, but it's expected to turn into a tropical depression going into Saturday morning.
Yeah, definitely. We looked at it just a brief, and then I said we were going to talk about it more. It's expected to move westward and then decrease in intensity, but that doesn't mean it's out and gone. It's something to look at just as we go into the weekend, because a lot of the focus has been on Hurricane Florence right now, and there is a possibility it turns into the Gulf and has some impact, but we're not saying that's the case. It's still more than 5 days out than it does.
I mean, the first landfall that we'll see now after it's a tropical depression is on Sunday, when it is supposed to approach Jamaica. So again, there they'll have typical storm conditions. They'll have thunderstorms, surge probably, and gusty winds.
Yeah, it's not too bad, though. It's only a tropical depression, which means winds less than 39 miles per hour. So it's not great, but it's not too bad. We're not seeing Hurricane Florence impacts. We're not seeing a lot of the other storms. When it made its way through the Antilles, it was a tropical storm and hurricane. This is much less.
again, to reiterate what you said, it is making that turn towards the Gulf, but it's still too early to tell if we're going to see it actually develop back into a storm, back into a hurricane. We're still just too far out.
Yeah, definitely. But it's something to keep your eye on, and if you're not prepared, get your supplies now. It's not too early. It's never too late. Just go now and get your supplies. So now we're going to send it over to the wall.
Thanks, Dylan and Salone. And thankfully in the state of Florida, we do not have a lot of tropical activity around, and we hope to keep it that way. We're just dealing with our typical showers and thunderstorms due to the sea breeze and the daytime heating. 90 degrees right now in Tallahassee, 84 down towards Orlando because of a shower or thunderstorm that moved through earlier. Same thing for Tampa, they're at 81 degrees. Now the dew points, again, we're not getting a big air mass change down here in the southeast and in the state of Florida. As a result, we do have these very typical high dew points with 77 in Orlando, 73 in Tallahassee, and 76 down towards Key West. Satellite and radar, as I said just a few seconds ago, it's basically this typical sea breeze showers and thunderstorms right down the spine of the peninsula. Now, as we zoom into South Florida, you can see how they don't really form along the coastline. A lot of people have been asking, yeah, it's been pretty dry along the coastline. That's because these sea breeze showers and thunderstorms really form more inland. So that's what we're experiencing right here down towards the Everglades. Now, as we go into tomorrow, pretty typical, once again, with going around 90 degrees with a chance of an afternoon shower or thunderstorm due to the sea breeze. Up towards northeast Florida and Jacksonville, you see, again, the typical sea breeze showers and thunderstorms really dissipating as we're losing that daytime heating. But as we go into tomorrow, again, remember what I said about Florence, that northerly wind is going to really suppress the sea breeze activity going into tomorrow. As a result, our temperatures are going to be much higher with 96 in Jacksonville, 94 in St. Augustine, and 94 at Palm Coast. Out towards the Panhandle, similar story with these sea breeze showers and thunderstorms. A really intense one out towards Panama City earlier in the afternoon, but that is finally dissipating as we speak. Going into tomorrow, pretty typical pattern. Mariana is actually on the edge of that northerly flow, so they'll be drier tomorrow with 94 degrees. But for the rest of the Panhandle, around 90 degrees with the typical scattered showers and thunderstorms. Going into tonight, for the entire state of Florida, 75 here in Tallahassee with a possible storm early. Similar thing for West Palm Beach and Miami, both at 76 and 77 degrees. And then going into tomorrow, you notice that the northeast part of the state is going to be hotter because of that northerly wind flow due to Florence, 94 in Tallahassee, 96 in Jacksonville. Down towards southern Florida, they'll be experiencing their typical sea breeze showers and thunderstorms with 96 in Jacksonville, with 91 in West Palm Beach and 89 in Miami. Now let's send it off to Salone with a look at our final local forecast.
Currently, again, you'll see in Tallahassee, we are a bit warmer. Dew points, again, average for most of the state. And we're having a few issues with our graphics, but the theme throughout most of the show is that it's been a hot one, especially all around the state. Currently, again, in Tallahassee, we're up in the 90s, and for most of our region, we are in the 90s. Apalachicola, though, a bit cooler because they are having those showers along Panama City. Dew points, which is the temperature at which dew forms, you can see that average for most of our region. Bainbridge, a bit drier. They haven't seen a lot of rain lately. And then Apalachicola has a higher dew point since they are experiencing those sea breeze showers. Satellite and radar, again, you can see that we have some showers moving along the I-10 area. They're mostly past our region by now, but then again, Panama City having those heavy sea breeze showers. But again, as Michael was saying, they are dissipating as we speak. And then if you go into tonight, you're going to see we do clear up. There is some cloud cover throughout our region, and we might have a stray thunderstorm or rain shower tonight going into tomorrow morning. And tonight's forecast, again, you see that Tallahassee does have that stray thunderstorm, but the rest of the region is mostly clear skies. 70s again for most of our region. The hottest temperature we see here is 76 in St. Mark's. And then going into tomorrow morning, 75 when you wake up, but immediately expected to warm up to 90 degrees. And then again, by 4 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to be at 92. Drier conditions that we've been experiencing all week today has been a bit drier as well. And then if we go into your 7-day, you're going to see that rain chances do decrease. From yesterday, we're in the 20% right now, so expect it to be a dry weekend. Make sure you do carry that umbrella with you. And then if you go into Monday and the rest of the week, you'll see that temperatures do increase. Temperatures do decrease going throughout the week with temperatures in the mid-70s, which is typical for the night. And I'm going to send it back to Michael and Dylan to close the show.
Thank you, Sloan. We're going to talk about Hurricane Florence just a little bit more, Michael. We've been seeing a lot of impacts. There was actually a live stream that we saw with a flag that was sitting off the coast of North Carolina. We saw the flag at the start of the live stream.
Yeah, the American flag.
It was perfectly fine, and now it's kind of ripped up, and we're going to see if it survives the rest of the storm. It's been through the hurricane storm winds. It's been through the tropical storm force winds.
Yeah, and Hurricane Florence hasn't even reached the coast yet, but in places like Morehead City, they're already having impacts due to the storm surge. I saw a video earlier of that storm surge moving through the street down in Morehead City, so it's not even made landfall, and we're already experiencing the impacts.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing a lot of impacts with it, a lot of rainfall, a lot of storm surge. This is all associated with this. It's going to continue for the next couple of days. It's not really going to let up for now.
Yeah, and we were gonna just finish some of our viewer questions. Some people are wondering about Raleigh and Charlotte. Thankfully, with that track moving a little bit more south, they're not getting much of the heavier rainfall.
Yeah.
But they're still going to get decent amounts of 3 to 5 inches of rain. You can see Florence right there, how it's making its way down towards Wilmington. Very intense eye wall on the northern side.
Yeah, it's very intense on the northern side. On the southern and eastern side, you're seeing a lot of collapse of it. So it's kind of good that it shows that it's a little bit weakening a bit, but again, it's still very strong and a lot of thunderstorms associated with it.
Yeah, and again, even though it's weaker because of its slow movement and because it's so much larger than it was early in the week, really the impacts haven't changed.
No, they really haven't changed. We can say that the peak wind is not going to be Category 5 winds anymore, but that doesn't mean that 150 mile per hour winds and 110 mile per hour winds are going to be any different. It's still very, very, very fast.
Yeah, good two examples are Ike for the Texas coastline back in 2008, Sandy in 2011. They were only Category 1, Category 2 storms, but they were two of the most costliest storms in U.S. history.
Exactly. It doesn't take into the impacts of storm surge, rainfall, flooding, all the living people living there. It doesn't take in the impacts on the scale.
Yeah, so going locally into our forecast, we can thank Florence for giving us drier weather over the weekend. Again, as I was saying earlier, the northerly flow is going to really dry us out as we head into the weekend. But when we get drier weather here in Tallahassee during this time of year, it gets hotter.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. We won't get the rain. You won't really need your rain jacket for the next couple days, but you will need to get some water and cool off just a bit.
Yeah, luckily by the time we go into next week, that's when we cool down a bit because our sea breeze showers and storms return once again.
You can say cool lightly because 90s isn't really
90
cool at
is
all.
Cool.
But hey, if you want to check more of us, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're all over social media.
Yeah, and you can keep sending in our questions about Florence for our viewers in the Carolinas. We really appreciated all those questions. And since it's still going to impact the Carolinas, keep sending in your questions on all of our social media platforms.
Yeah, but we'll be back tomorrow with your Friday show. It's our last show for the week, so tune in for that tomorrow, and we'll talk about Spokane. Have a good night.